Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Articulating with David Barnett. My name is Sharon Loker, and as always, I am here with my co-host and gallery owner and director, David Barnett.
Thank you for the introduction.
Oh, my pleasure. Well, today our topic is architecture. So basically, artwork featuring
Architecture,
architecture as part of its subject matter.
which is our next exhibition,
Yes. And when is that exhibition coming up?
July.
Exhibition will be up here at the gallery in July.
Because the gallery building is 150 years old.
Oh, yes, it's a celebration of
Sesquicentennial.
sesquicent. I don't even think I can say that word.
I've been practicing that one.
It's a tough
Sesquicentennial. It's easier to say 150 years old.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with that.
So, and we're going to have a birthday party for the building this summer
Awesome.
sometime.
All right, sounds good.
So,
Well, we'll keep
okay.
everybody apprised of that.
Yeah.
So jumping in, I thought
Okay.
maybe we would start with Carol Summers over here.
Okay.
This nice big piece. Carol Summers is definitely one, if not my favorite artist in the gallery collection.
Well,
And
now I know what to get you for your wedding.
oh, you're sweet. You actually gave me a Carol Summers for Christmas or excuse me, for Hanukkah. Hanukkah/Christmas. Yep. But I'll take another Carol Summers. Turn it down. Anyways, this one is entitled Incredible String Band from 1972, and it is a color woodcut on paper. And of course, for obvious reasons, this fits perfectly into our theme because of the ancient Greek and Roman-esque style architecture, specifically what we see surrounding the central image, and that is the columns. Yes. So these are actually, of all the Greek columns, there's three orders. There's the Doric, which is the earliest, the Ionic, which is the middle period, and then the Corinthian, which are the later ones that are extremely decorative. From my studies years
Are
ago,
these the fourth type that invented by Carol Summers?
these are actually
Hybrids?
they're a little bit of a hybrid, but I'd say they're closest to Doric. And the reasoning for that is the simplicity of them. If I kind of went back and forth, I was like, are they Doric or Ionic? And I settled with Doric mainly because of the middle of the column, which is actually
The flutes?
Yes. So the shaft, which is the middle area of the column, is fluted, as David just mentioned. Those are the lines you see. And you do see plain columns in Doric, or columns. You do see plain, I should say, shafts in Doric columns. However, it's the width of the shaft. So you would find a more tapered shaft in Ionic columns. So that's why I decided these are Doric. Doric tend to not have a base. These do. So the base is going to be at the bottom of the shaft, and then of course the square piece at the beneath that is the pedestal. And the top would be known as the capital. And these are often plain or have a little bit of adornment, as these do. All right. Above the columns themselves, these little, what look like little smaller columns up top are actually referred to as a triglyph. And in between the triglyph is the metapiece. So the metapiece is where you're seeing these oval and diamond-like structures. And basically what's connecting that and the columns themselves is that kind of unadorned, very simple area on them, and that is the architrave. So you have this really interesting mix in this piece of very ancient Greek architecture, basically the basis of all architecture. And then this very abstract shapes and colors in the middle of it. And I kind of love that juxtaposition of the two. Yeah, it's very unique, very different. Um, just the use of the black and white is not something you see a lot in Carol Summers' work. He has used columns before in his pieces, but usually his work is very colorful and more akin to the central image. This, bright kind of rainbow. It looks like a skyline and maybe a little
Well, a
bit.
comet.
Oh, is that what it is? Okay, it's a comet. Okay, that makes sense. But he always has these kind of abstracted landscapes or buildings. So this is, I think, just a really unique piece. And of course, as I've mentioned several times before, the size of it. I love large artworks. And don't get me wrong, I like smaller size artworks too. But something about those bigger pieces, they radiate. It's hard to turn your eye from it. And I think this is Carol Summers really at his best right here. So love that one. Thank you for letting me ramble on. Do you want to add anything?
Well, Carol Summers really is considered to be possibly the most inventive woodcut artist of the 20th century.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he and his wife were written up in Architectural Digest in 1987, I think it was. But I met him actually in 1966. He was invited to give a demonstration on his woodcuts making for the UWM printmaking class.
Oh, how cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
I knew you had an affiliation with him because you did the
Mhm.
catalog raisonné and
Yeah, so that's where I first ran into his work, and but then when I saw his work on the cover featured article for the Architectural Digest magazine, it said that he lived in Santa Cruz, California. So I called him
mm-hmm.
and I said, I remember you, but you're not going to remember me. I was a student then, and I said, well, I have a little gallery in Milwaukee, and I would love to do a show for you. And he says to me, is that anywhere near Madison?
Uh-huh.
And I said, it's about an hour and a half. Why? And he says, because I'm having a show in March at the Art Museum in Madison. At the time, it was the Albion Museum. Now it's the Chasen Museum. But he said, no, I'm having an exhibition there. So I said, uh, fantastic. I said, I'll pick you up at the Mitchell International Airport and I'll drive you to Madison.
Perfect.
And so we became very close friends. And you were just saying about the catalog raisonné.
Yes.
One day he called me and he said he was publishing the catalog raisonné and would I like to help publish it, which meant money.
Yes.
Do I want to pay for part of it? So I said yes, and so he printed 5,000 catalogs,
Uh-huh.
catalog raisonnés, and so I paid for 20% of them. So I gave him $5,000. It was 25,000 for the whole project.
Oh, wow.
And so I said, well, I'll give you 5,000 if you'll put David Barnett Gallery name in 20% of them that we can have here. So we've got the catalog raisonnés here.
Yes, and they are for sale. So if you're a Carol Summers fan and just want to see more of his work,
Yeah.
you can always come in here and see a lot of it in person.
Yeah. And we've sold the catalog raisonnés to collectors and museums all over the world. In fact, we got an order from the Metropolitan Museum
Yes.
of Art in New York for one. So
I know I had filled an order a few times here that people had purchased them.
yeah, we just sent one off to England, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, so Um, tremendous artist.
Yeah, truly.
Yeah.
All right. Well, just below Carol Summers, we have Charles Damrow. And this is titled TP/Indian Village. This one is from 1978. This is actually a giclée print of the original. We do have the original here in the gallery. It's much larger, but because we have so much artwork here on display for the podcast purposes, we thought it would be easier to just bring in the smaller piece as compared to lugging down the huge painting and moving it around. One of the reasons I thought it was important to include this piece was just as a way of representing all different types of architecture. And of course, what is more perfect than to depict the indigenous people of Northern America? And in my research, I discovered that this was most likely Plains Indians. And Plains Indians in general moved around a lot. So living in teepees makes sense because teepees are really kind of a tent. And they are constructed of poles. And then you have the covering in an animal hide or even sometimes a type of tree bark, I had read as well. But you have the flaps, which of course you can enter and exit. And if it's, summer or winter, you can leave them open to kind of circulate the air. And then there's the smoke flap on the top as well. So if you have a fire going within it to heat it, there's somewhere for the smoke to be released. One thing that I found interesting in my research is that teepee villages and encampments to Native American encampments were usually set up in a circle. And this was a symbol of life. And as we know, Native American people in general, all the different tribes and nations, of course, have different beliefs and ceremonies and such. But in general, they tend to be a very spiritual people and very connected to the earth and in harmony with the earth and nature. And so I just thought that's kind of lovely that even down to where they are setting up their home for that whatever period of time is meant to symbolize life, and so it's put in a circle. But I would love to know more. One thing I had a hard time finding was the exact Native American background depicted here. The best I could do was
Could be
plant
Potawatomi.
It's possible, yeah, Potawatomi. But
He did live in Wisconsin for a period of time,
okay.
in Sheboygan.
Oh, we did.
hmm
Okay. Do you know any more about the work itself or about him as an artist?
Well, I mean, he lived with the Native Americans.
Okay, which would make sense
hmm
because a lot of his work I do know is centered on Western imagery and, of course, indigenous American people.
hmm The horse is a Palomino.
Oh, you know your horses. That's impressive. I know nothing about horses.
Well,
I like the little dog jumping into the water too.
you could probably identify the dog species.
That I cannot, even with my glasses on. Oh, I just realized there's a horse hiding here in the back behind one of the teepees. It's kind of just this very lovely image of everyday life in this encampment.
hmm
And again, if any of you are interested in this piece and want to come to the gallery and see the original painting, which again is much, much larger, we absolutely recommend that you do so. And it isn't, like I said, I believe I said before, it isn't oil on wood piece. Um, all right, shall we jump behind us?
What's your next choice?
And here we have Ernesto Gutierrez. This is the patio in Peru from 1997. It's an oil on canvas. What I find interesting about this work compared to all the other paintings that we have of his here in the gallery, this one is one of the few I've seen that doesn't have any figures in it.
Very scarce.
Yes, it's very rare that you see that. The other thing, too, besides the size of it, which it's on the smaller size, um, it's seems like a detail almost from one of his larger paintings. It's just this kind of quiet, very sparse little scene. And of course, it's got his very distinctive brush strokes, but I love kind of the simplicity of it, this beautiful archway, which is again mimicked in these windows and doors beyond.
Yeah. Ernesto had built a house up in the Andes, up in the mountains,
Mhm.
and so this is part of the house.
Oh, okay. So this is from the artist's own
Mhm.
home itself. Very cool.
Mhm. Yeah, so Ernesto
You
came to
guys go way,
Milwaukee
yeah, you
on
go
a
way back.
Fulbright scholarship in around 1973 from Lima, Peru. And his mother was a descendant of the Inca Indians,
Mm-hmm.
and his father was a uh, Spanish lawyer
Mm-hmm.
who worked for the Peruvian government. But Ernesto did not know his father, uh, and he was raised by his grandmother.
Okay.
So he didn't. Ernesto's 85 years old now, but he didn't even know his father. He didn't meet his father until he was in his 60s.
Oh, wow.
He spent most of his life looking for his father.
Hey, I knew that he grew up not knowing him. I didn't realize that
Hmm.
it wasn't until he was an older man that he
Yeah,
finally did meet
yeah.
him.
And I met Ernesto when he came into the David Barnett Gallery in around 1973. He was a student at UWM,
Uh-huh.
and he had one of his etchings under his arm, and he said he needed to frame it, and would I be willing to exchange his etching for a picture frame? I looked at the etching, and it was of the building blocks that the Incas used to use to build their structures, and these things, these um, stones weighed like tens of thousands of pounds,
Oh, yeah.
and they were so well constructed you couldn't even slide a knife blade between the rocks.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah, and anyway, so in when I was in junior high, I did a 24-foot mural on
That's
craft
great.
paper in pastel
Uh-huh.
that was 3 feet high and 24 feet long of the Inca civilization.
Yes.
And so that was something that I had taken an interest in as a teenager. And so when he wanted to trade his etching, I said, sure.
Yeah. You're like,
And
absolutely yes.
and so now we have over 50 of his paintings.
Yes.
I
Of all
collected.
sizes and
Yeah.
yeah, but they all have his very distinct brushwork. You can
Mhm.
see the little individual marks
Yeah.
made by his brushwork.
Yeah.
And
He uses a very narrow brush.
yeah,
And
and everything's so beautifully colored.
mhm.
He always has these really
Yeah.
great bright palettes. This is actually a little bit somber. I mean, it's not a somber painting, but compared to his other works,
Mhm.
this is the palette is a little
Mhm.
darker with the purples and this kind of ochre orange.
But it does have his classic signature of the light.
Yes,
See the sunlight just
yes.
being caught there.
And again, I love the way he breaks it down into these shapes.
Mhm.
You know, the sun is this kind of triangular pattern
Mhm.
going across the house there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's really lovely painting. It's kind of a little intimate scene. To follow that up, we have George Rabb's City Hall Square from Milwaukee. And this piece is dated from 1936. It is a linoleum block print on laid paper. And again, in the center here, we have that architecture. This is actually the city hall here. The building right here is the Pabst Theater, which I just figured out today after how many times have I looked at this piece? When I was doing research, because I was curious about the style of the City Hall building, because you're really only seeing a very small slice of it. You know, it goes way far back. This would be the view from Mason Street and Water Street. But the actual City Hall building is dated 1895, and it is in a Flemish Renaissance revival style, which I never heard of before. I I did study a little of architecture when I was studying art history, but I had not heard of Flemish revival before. It's one of those very long, thin buildings. It almost creates, like if you were to look at it from overhead, it almost creates like a very long triangle, like an isosceles triangle or something. Um, it was created by the architect Henry C. Koch. And again, this tall building in the corridor that I mentioned before, next to it, or I should say that's the tall building, but this is the Pabst Theater here, which is still there today. This building on the other side no longer exists. Unfortunately, I could not figure out what that was. Today it's just a grassy field. And then, of course, where the lamppost is here in the square, there is now a large sculpture piece there. But it's just kind of cool to see this piece of literally Milwaukee history that was created almost 100 years ago. And to see some of these buildings are still standing today and to be able to recognize it even just from this tiny angle and perspective is very cool. Now, Rab was from Milwaukee, or born in Sheboygan, I believe.
He lived in Sheboygan for a while, but he spent most of his professional career in Decatur, Illinois.
Okay.
He taught at the university there.
Yeah. And we have several of his.
We have I bought a very rare portfolio of 44 original lino cuts and woodcuts from the 1930s.
There's actually another one of the City Hall. If you go in through the archway here, he did another print that David has in the collection where you're coming through. What's being depicted is all the arches underneath the building itself. It's really kind of cool point of view. But this one is I liked because it was just so recognizable to anybody, you know, who's from Milwaukee and who's spent any time downtown. You know, I just love it. It's like a little piece of home. I can put it back up there. This is another fantastic piece as well that David and I both love. This is Lawrence Rathsack, excuse me. Tree and Court. And it is done in Conte crayon, which I actually love. When I took drawing in college, Conte was my favorite medium to use. I like it because it's harder than charcoal, not as hard as graphite, but you kind of get the benefits of both. But this used to hang downstairs in the gallery just outside my old office. And so I'd pass by it all the time. And it was one of those things that always caught my eye, despite its smaller size. And immediately when I look at it, I think of the surrealist artist De Chirico, the way it has that very kind of solemn solitude that's almost eerie. And yeah, this tiny little tree, there's no leaves on it, it's just barren. And then surrounded by these huge, just colossal, imposing buildings that to me read as brutalist architecture. And for anyone who's unfamiliar with brutalism, well, there's the movie The Brutalist that came out last year, which delves into the style of architecture, but it came out of World War II. All the resources, of course, were going to support the war, so architects had to turn to really alternate ways of building. And so the use of concrete became very popular. And so you'll find really in any city you go to, even here in Milwaukee, if you go downtown, I know one of the police buildings is a brutalist style. And they're usually just these immense concrete structures, very little adornment, very simple. They're not for everybody, but that's kind of what I imagine here. Is just that brutalism, this building, and then this tiny little courtyard
with the
in the
tree
midst
that's
of it.
fighting for survival.
Yes, yes, you kind of have this nature trying to find its way through this
Looking for
man-made,
light.
yeah, looking for light in a dark little place.
Yeah. So Lawrence Rasek, I had as the watercolor professor at UWM,
Oh, okay.
and his one of his favorite artists was Cezanne.
Really?
Yeah. So, um, in some ways, there's kind of a minimalist approach,
Yes, very much so.
which was evident in some of Cezanne's watercolors. Rasek, he actually started out as a house painter.
Huh.
Mhm.
And then made the jump to fine art,
Mhm.
which of course is completely different.
Mhm.
But yeah,
Very special piece.
it is. It really is. Okay. Moving right along, we have right here an artist named Bruce McCombs. This piece is titled San Francisco. And again, a watercolor piece. What I love about it, having been to San Francisco several times growing up, is just looking at it. I know you know what city it is. If you've spent any time in San Francisco, you can tell right away, oh, that's got to be San Francisco. Not just based on the architecture, but that street angle, that steepness, the car parked, you're kind of waiting for it to go rolling backwards down the hill. Because as anyone who's been to San Francisco knows, it's just
Yeah.
you're up and down and all over the place.
Classic San Francisco.
Yes, very classic. The house, or structure here in the background is a Victorian style. And those became popular, I would guess, in that area after the earthquake of 1906. That was when that style of architecture kind of sprouted up. And obviously now it has become just this quintessential architectural style of San Francisco. And I think what I really love about it, most of all, are the turreted rooms. I've always wanted to live in a place that has those turreted rooms in it. I just think it's
I like the contrast with the Aston Martin.
yes, yeah, the color contrast is fantastic. I was very fortunate when I was doing appraisals here. I remember I had somebody reach out that was interested in a Bruce McCombs and was asking if he was painting anything new. And I said, well, I can reach out to him and find out. And I remember I emailed him and it took him a little while to get back to me. But we emailed a little bit back and forth, and it was just so cool. It's like my first time ever getting to speak to a well-known established artist, and he was just so kind and so gracious because of course I was, oh, I love your work and fawning all over him in my emails. And he was great. Because one of the things I remember him saying to me is Because I asked him, I said, "Are you still painting?" He said, "I can't stop." He's like, "There's always more to paint." And of course, he has this great kind of photorealist style, which he pulls off in watercolors, which to me is incredible because watercolors, in my opinion, are a very difficult medium to control. I know, David, you've used them.
My favorite medium.
Yeah, it's one of your favorite mediums. And of course, you are adept at it, so you know what you're doing. But yeah, it's just it's a great painting, and we have several of his works here as well. A lot of stuff featuring architecture, cars. Um, what I love are his pieces that
Neon
have
signs.
neon signs. I love the pieces that he has as well that have a lot of reflection in them. Like I'll do the store window. I think there's that one we have with the teddy bears, and you can see just the reflection from outside as well as the display through the window.
Amazing work.
Yeah, really, really incredible. Just the detail and the time that goes into it. All right, and our next one is Kevin Knapp. This piece up here on the top here, it is titled Distant House. It is from 2021, and it is an oil on panel. And one of the reasons I thought we should speak about this one is just basically due to what's the word that I wanted to say? I think I wrote it down somewhere. um, there's this, I don't want to say simplicity because I tend to use that word a lot, but I think there's this kind of, there's something very unpretentious about it. It's that kind of house that you see driving through the country in the Midwest. You know, it's very just basic and
Minimalist.
functional, minimalist. Yes, basic, functional, and again, kind of like the way we discussed with Gutierrez. The house is broken down into these geometric shapes. You have like these rectangles and triangles and squares that are just making up the house. And again, because you're seeing it from a distance, you know, you're aware that it's a structure, that is a building, a home, but at the same time, it's almost abstract and hard edge with these, you know, sharp angles. But then to kind of soften it, you've got the landscape around it. And so I like that play that's kind of that is going on there between the building itself and then the natural surroundings.
And the colors are almost minimalist too,
Yes.
and with a very narrow range of values.
Mm-hmm.
So it blends together beautifully.
Yeah, there isn't a lot of, you know, there isn't any extreme um, color choices or, you know, but at the same time, you're still able to discern that it's daytime, probably later in the day, you know, the sun's starting to go down. And again, it makes me think of the Midwest. I don't know if it's a painting from an actual house in the Midwest. I don't,
Probably.
yeah, that's my guess based on the landscape, since it's kind of flat and, you know, it has that kind of rural farm community look to it. And so, yeah, again, it just,
It's called Distant House.
yes, Distant House. Of course, the title says it all. All right, and then, but just below it here is a watercolor titled David's Place by an artist named Craig Lewick. And Craig works predominantly in watercolors. This one is from 2008. And for any of those of you that have been to the gallery here in Milwaukee, you will of course recognize this building because it is the gallery. This is the building we are sitting in right now. And I thought it was important to add that to this because it is the gallery itself. And it's also a piece of Milwaukee history, um, as David can tell us a lot about.
Yes, so the house was built in 1875, so it's 150 years old.
Mhm.
So sesquicentennial.
Sesquicentennial. Oh, I got it that right.
And
Sesquicentennial.
we're having a birthday party for the building this summer
Yes.
sometime.
Yes, going back to what we were discussing earlier.
And you can watch for that. And Edward Townsend Mix, the
architect.
the most significant Victorian architect in Wisconsin
Yes.
in the 19th century, was the architect. And it's one of the few, as you were saying, one of the few remaining masterpieces of Victorian Italianate architecture.
Mhm.
That's left. Most of the houses have been torn down.
Yeah, there are still a few around here. I mean, obviously, he was one of the preeminent architects of his time and designed several houses and buildings in the neighborhood. There are still some. There's one down the street from us, and then there's, I believe, the church.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah,
is
and
also one of his.
it's Cream City brick,
Yes.
which Milwaukee is known as Cream City because of the color of the clay from this,
which is much
that was
lighter.
that was dug up from this area.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's 10,000 square feet, the house, and it cost 30,000 to build back then.
Which is amazing. And who could you tell us a bit about
Dr.
who?
Henry Harrison Button
Exactly, thank you.
was from out east, and
So
he
it's
came
referred
to
to as the
Milwaukee,
Button Mansion.
the Button Mansion. Some people call it the Button Barnett Mansion, or Barnett Button Mansion, or
There you go.
whatever.
The B squared
Yeah.
for short. B squared mansion.
But so interesting that the house cost 30,000 to build back in 1875,
Mhm.
when your average house was maybe $600. So, for
Yeah,
example,
it's incredible.
people were ordering houses out of the Sears Roebuck catalog in
Uh-huh.
1875 for a whopping $600.
Yeah.
And some of those houses actually are still being lived in today.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because back then they built everything to last.
Yeah.
And
So, what's kind of fun about how this watercolor came about was, so Craig Lewick, working for Hallmark Card Company, Kansas City, decided to come up here. I think it was 2007, for one of the Harley Davidson and national
anniversaries. Okay.
conventions, and there were over 100,000 motorcycles, bikes in Milwaukee,
Uh-huh.
and there weren't a lot of parking places available.
No, there
So,
were.
so the doorbell rings, and Craig Lewick is standing at the door
Uh-huh.
with his buddies that came up on their bikes. They're all in their black leathers. And he says, well, there's no place to park. Do you mind if we park in your parking lot?
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, sure, go ahead. And a week later, I open the mail and I get this original watercolor, David's Place, as a thank you for letting his buddies park in the lot.
That's so nice.
Mhm. He's also very graciously give me reproduction rights. So we've made prints and sold those.
Yeah. Used it on flyers
and posters as well.
Mhm. Yeah.
Which we have available.
Yeah. He's a very nice man. Well, we have several of his other paintings as well. I got to meet him a couple of years ago. There was like one random summer day that he came in, and I thought he was just a gallery visitor because he came in and he said, I just want to come in and look around. And we were talking like, oh, what brings you here? And he's like, well, I've got some paintings here. And I said, oh, you do? Who are you? He said, I'm Craig Lewick. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, Craig Lewick. I said, you're everywhere in the house.
I bought about 80 watercolors from him.
And he has really lovely watercolors too. I mean, just from all over the world. He's
his favorite watercolor artist is John Singer Sargent. And Craig is very methodical in the way he does everything. And so he's literally studied every single brushstroke from every painting. that John Singer Sargent has ever painted. So
That's so cool.
he's an
I love
expert.
hearing that.
Yeah.
All right. Last but not least,
So the
the rains here.
Checkers Court has a very long history, including it was used as a jail for one of Queen Elizabeth's stepdaughters, I think, or what was it? Do you remember the story?
Oh, I don't know. So this building here represented in this
It
piece.
goes back to the 1200s.
Okay.
Checkers. So in 1917, Checkers Court actually became. It was donated to the government, and it's become the Prime Minister's summer residence.
Okay. So this building is the structure is actually in England itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And who is the artist?
Phineas Trotman is the artist. Is from 1805.
Okay.
And the Trotman family goes back to this area. The Trotman family goes back to the 12th century, actually, from this area. So I acquired it from the Mentmore Castle in 1977. Baron Meyer Amschel Rothschild's estate called Mentmore, and this was
The Mentmore
this was his modest house,
his modest
if you want to
house.
call it that.
Yeah.
Mentmore
can
Castle in Aylesbury. And so Sotheby's in 1977 had a special sale on the premises of Mentmore. And so
They auctioned items.
Baron Meyer Amschel Rothschild was from the European banking family, and he was actually the wealthiest man in England in the 1850s.
Oh yes, the Rothschilds go way, way back.
In fact, they financed the Revolutionary War.
Yes.
George Washington went to Paris to get the money. And anyway, so Baron Rothschild had a daughter, Hannah, and who was an amateur artist. And I spent a week on the premises in 1977, and I bought a lot of interesting things, including this drawing. And after I acquired it, I got a letter from the oldest gallery on Old Bond Street, and they had been looking,
in London?
In London. They had been looking for this drawing, but they couldn't find it at the estate sale.
Oh,
But they,
okay.
but I bought it, and so the Queen of England wanted to buy it and hang it in Checkers Court. So when they asked about it, I quoted them a price for it, and I got this sarcastic letter back from the gallery on Old Bond Street saying basically, how dare I ask more than a few pounds for something that they thought was their own kind of history, and I should give it to them for nothing,
Yes.
So
because it's the Queen, it's part of
right, yeah.
English history.
So the sarcastic letter said, when you die, leave it to the Queen in your will.
Have you done that? Have you put it in your will for the Queen?
Absolutely not.
I can't believe they have the gall to ask you or expect you to just hand it over for nothing.
Yeah.
That's
yeah, right.
Quite something.
Yeah, why don't they return the marbles?
Yeah.
That they've
I mean, they obviously, if anybody can afford it, it would be the
they've
Queen.
got a few things that could be returned.
Yes.
To other places.
Well, yeah, that too. So.
Yeah.
Oh yes, the Elgin marble.
The Elgin marble.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, this was a very fun.
This was a fun one. I hope.
ARTchitecture.
Yes, art ARTchitecture. So thank you so much, everyone, for listening to us talk about some more pieces of artwork here in the gallery, which again, everything here, well, except for this piece here, is available for sale. And you're always welcome to come on down and see anything that we discuss here on the podcast. And of course, the show will be up in July. There'll be more information about that as we get nearer to the dates, and you can find that on our website and social media.
Thanks for listening, and we look forward to seeing you in the gallery.
Bye.